Welcome to today's deep dive. We are looking at a really fascinating report on India today.
Yeah, it is a huge topic.
Right, because India's economy is, it is running like a high-performance sports car that is just completely in the red right
I
now.
mean, the speed is incredible. They're projecting up to 7.8% GDP growth.
Exactly. They are pushing hard to become a fully developed nation, a Viksit Bharat by 2047, but the engine is severely overheating.
Right, because if you look at the environmental and social dashboards and the sources we are using today, well, it is alarming.
Yeah, 7 out of the 9 global planetary boundaries have already been breached. And just so you, the listener, are on the same page, planetary boundaries are those strict environmental thresholds like freshwater use that humanity has to stay within to survive.
And India is pushing right past them.
Okay, let's unpack this because the
Mhm.
tension here is massive, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Mhm.
It is a clash between massive supply push economic strategies and absolute ecological limits. Take ocean acidification, for example.
Right.
It has jumped 30 to 40%. Because the oceans are absorbing so much excess carbon dioxide, the water chemistry is fundamentally changing.
Which dissolves the shells of marine life, right?
Exactly. And that threatens the entire food web along India's 7,500-kilometer coastline.
Wow. And the terrestrial side is facing its own bizarre chain reactions, too.
Yeah, what's fascinating here is how a single disruption cascades. Like, there's this invasive weed called Lantana comra,
Uh,
and now chokes 50% of Indian forests. It outcompetes and kills off the native grasses.
so the local herbivores basically starve.
Right. And when the prey population collapses, apex predators, like tigers, are forced to leave the deep forest. They migrate into human-dominated areas to hunt livestock.
Oh, wow. So a simple weed invasion triggers a massive spike in violent human-wildlife conflict.
Exactly. It is a brutal reminder of what happens when rapid expansion hits finite physical limits.
But I am looking at another constraint in this report, and I have to be honest, I'm genuinely confused by the data here.
Oh, the healthcare stats?
Yeah. The stats say India has a doctor-to-population ratio of 1 to 811. That actually beats the World Health Organization's recommendation. So how can a country with a statistical surplus of doctors be facing a healthcare crisis?
Well, because that national average is a mirage. It completely hides the geographic crisis. It is called the urban vacuum cleaner effect.
The urban vacuum cleaner effect.
Yeah, the booming metropolitan centers pull in the vast majority of medical professionals. Imagine if 70% of all the doctors in your entire country only lived in a handful of major cities.
Oh, man. I see.
That is the reality there. They serve just 30% of the geographic footprint. In rural India, that ratio crashes to a dismal 1 doctor for every 11,082 people.
That is a staggering gap. But here's where it gets really interesting. Because building multi-million-dollar hospitals in thousands of remote villages would take decades.
Decades they do not have.
Right. So instead, they're relying on frugal innovation, doing more with less. They built eSanjeevani.
Which is a massive telemedicine platform.
Yeah, it has already handled over 163 million consultations. And they equip local community health workers, known as ASHA workers, with smartphones to do forward triage.
Right, and just to clarify, forward triage means these local workers assess the patient's symptoms right there in the village first.
Right.
They handle the basics and only connect the patient to a sitting specialist digitally if it's a complex case. So they are bypassing the physical infrastructure deficit entirely by using digital infrastructure.
That is so smart.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, this decentralized, frugal approach isn't just a band-aid for healthcare. It is the exact same strategy they're using to save the national food supply.
Which is wild because the agriculture data shows they are hitting record food grain production, yet they are bleeding $18.5 billion a year to post-harvest wastage.
Yeah.
How are they losing that much food?
Well, again, it is a structural bottleneck. They actually have cold storage, but 75% of it is hoarded by potatoes.
Wait, really? Potatoes?
Yes, potatoes. Because legacy agricultural subsidies favored potato farming, and potatoes have a long baseline shelf life.
Oh, making them a safe bet for traditional storage investors.
Exactly. So consequently, the high-value, highly fragile fruits and vegetables are left out and just rot at the farm gate.
And the frugal fix for this is brilliant. They call it cooling as a service.
Right.
Instead of building massive centralized warehouses that only benefit legacy crops, they are deploying micro-storage.
Which are these decentralized solar-powered cold storage units placed right at the farm gate.
Yeah, a farmer can just rent space for 10 rupees a crate. It stops the rotting, and it saves them from having to distress sell their harvest when the market is flooded.
It is a complete paradigm shift. To survive the paradox of hypergrowth against severe physical bottlenecks, India is having to evolve.
Yeah, they are transitioning from a traditional soft state into a highly data-driven development state.
Exactly. Scaling these decentralized, digital-first, low-cost infrastructures is literally the only way they avoid hitting the wall.
So, what does this all mean? It leaves you with a pretty massive question to ponder. As the entire globe faces extreme climate shifts and shrinking resources, will India's mastery of frugal innovation become the default survival blueprint exported to the rest of the world?
It is a fascinating thought.
Because if we go back to that sports car analogy, maybe the future isn't about building a bigger engine. Maybe it's about figuring out how to win the race on a single tank of gas.